projects. What I wanted to do today is to show you what my next make is going to be. I have made this pattern once before, and it's the New Look 6585. And I like to make version B on this, just for that length. It is a hooded jacket or robe, and what I like to do is I like to make it out of these quilted kind of bedspreads. This is the other side. And the one that I made before, I made out of a vintage quilt, which turned out really cute, and I sold it on Etsy right away. And I made it reversible, so what I did was I took some bias binding seam tape and I opened it up, because the only seam that really needed extra finishing to be able to make it reversible was on the hood, because the way the hood is on the back here, it has a seam that's exposed even when it's on the right side out. So you want to cover that seam up, and of course I serge all my seams, but you don't need to serge your seams on this. Just depends on the fabric and what you're doing. There are several videos, and I will link the one that I like the best for the tutorial on how to make it, because there's one little thing that when I made it the first time was a little odd for me. Not really odd, but just kind of different, because there are not a lot of pieces to this pattern, which is really kind of nice, because I like patterns that don't have lots of pieces. The hood is a part of the front piece, which is very interesting, because there's two front pieces. They're just mirror images of each other, and they have half the hood on one and half the hood on the other. And then there's a back piece that's cut on the fold, and then there's a couple sleeves, and then the pockets. I do my pockets a little different because I want to make it reversible, so I try to put pockets on the inside and pockets on the outside. And this one hopefully turns out nice on the reverse side, because it's kind of cute, and I like it. And I was given this quilted bedspread, and one side I already made a vest out of it. It's really pretty. It's got a pretty pattern, and this is kind of the blues behind it are sort of denim-y blues, and then the reverse side is this really pretty green, teal, and white pattern. So I like to make it so that you can wear it as a jacket, you can wear it as a robe if you want. I like it to be about knee length. I don't really care for super long robes, and really the length of it for me depends on how much fabric I have. I liked making this out of a vintage quilt, and after I perfect the pattern for me with some of the shortcuts and some of the ways that I want to make it, then Dobby and I will make another one out of a vintage quilt, and hopefully be able to make that reversible too. I don't have a quilt in mind right now, but I do have another one of these bedspreads that's a little more it's solid, more solid colored. It has some lines in it, and it's beige. Some people like things a little more subtle. Of course, you know, I'm anything but subtle. So the next one will probably be made out of that and be a little subtle. And I might make a vest out of that too if I have enough material left after I make this hooded jacket. I will take you along with me. I've already cut my pieces out, but when I go to put the front together, where the hood is, that was where last time it was a little, I don't want to say difficult, but you know that I don't use patterns a lot, and so patterns challenge me. Not that I can't, it's just that I prefer my free-form, floating way of making things. And this one, even though it's a simple pattern, I try to follow the pattern instructions. So I'm going to do that this time, and I will show you shots as I go along of anything that I think you need to be aware of. Oh, the other thing about it too is the sleeves are a little different, because they come in two pieces. It's a front sleeve and a back sleeve, and I think they did that because of the way the front and the back of the pattern are. So as I familiarize myself more with it, I'll show those shots of making that if there's anything that I think you need to be more aware of. And as I said, there's a pretty good tutorial already on YouTube by somebody else, and I'll link that in the comments so you can see what they did if there's something where I think you need to have a closer look. because my camera skills aren't always quite the best. So learning from somebody else too as you go along, I think helps. I see my videos as more informational as opposed to instructional. And I recommend, that you look for this pattern. It's a pretty simple pattern, this New Look one. And like I said, it doesn't have a lot of pieces. And I think it more or less the different views are just by the length. And you can do whatever you want with the pockets or have no pockets. But it does make a nice coat as well with a hood on it. We're going to be looking at some cooler months. Even here in Texas, it does get a little cooler. I used to visit in January when I lived in California. I'd come and visit my daughter here. And the weather's beautiful here in January and February. My daughter would say, "Oh, Mom, it's always like this here." Of course, then when we moved to Texas from California, what month did we move here in? We moved here in July. So we found out what the weather is really like in Texas. Not all year long, but now for about 6 months, the weather is like this, where I think the other day it hit triple digits. It was 100 here, and then in the evening it rained and went down into the high 70s. So, weather can be a little unpredictable, but I prefer the sunshine to the snow, so very happy with Texas weather. So follow along and let me know what you think of this pattern, and let me know if you've made it yourself and what you thought of it. Enjoy.
Other pieces, my back pieces, and I will look at the pattern, of course, now that I have the hood. With the right sides together, pin the sleeve back sections to the back. So I've got to work on the sleeves next, and then I'll work the other pieces together. So I have to get my sleeves out. We'll put this over here for now, and then I think I will attach my sleeves to the back. One of the things that I'm going to have to do, and stop and think about this, because I really would like to make this reversible, because I like this side of it, right? See, now here the sleeves are all together, right? So the next step of this would be to put, to finish the sleeves so they're enclosed. But what I want to do is think about what this is going to look like when I make it reversible, because I really want it to be reversible. And it's like, okay, do I just leave these seams open, because it is kind of pretty, and then I could stitch down them? Well, if I'm going to do that and I'm going to stitch down them, I better be doing that before I stitch everything closed, because I sure can't stitch the inside. Or do I take them and do a bias binding over the top of it, so I have kind of a yellow stripe, because I need to have all of these open. One of the things that pattern has you do before you get to this point is put the pockets in. But I like to put the pockets in last, because I like to try it on me and decide where the pockets are going to be, not let the pattern tell me where the pockets are going to be. So I think what I'm going to do is have a little think on this for a little bit and decide how I'm going to finish these sleeves off and the back of it, so that I can make this reversible, because I really would like to have it be reversible. I think that'd be so cute. So I do need to give it a good press the seams open, if that's the way I'm going to do it. Or I could take bias binding and just put bias binding all along it and have a bias binding piece that kind of sticks up when it's reversed. So I'm going to have a little think on that before I'm done.
I'm going to show you a few trim choices here, and then I'm going to show you the finished product. And at the very end, I'll show you what I look like dancing around in my new top. I still need to put the pockets in, and I'm thinking about putting a button and a loop on the front of it. You'll see when I show you my reverse of this, so that it is reversible. And I love the hood. I keep playing around with the hood here. So watch for it to be coming in my store. I did make the sleeves a little shorter. That was because the material, the way I had it to cut out. So I'm very, very pleased with the way this turns out. And I really like the yellow trim. So let me know what you think in the comments. Enjoy!